Good morning. We've been working on a tuba, and this is a bow on the tuba. This is the first branch, and as you can see, we've got some pretty nasty dents that have to come out. Now, this tuba, this particular section of the tuba, is fairly wide as far as diameter goes. If you were to measure the diameter here, the inside diameter of this tuba on the narrow side is running at I'll use the inside measure here. That's 1 and 11/32. The inside diameter of the other end of the tuba, of the wider end, is 2 and 31/64. So it's fairly wide. There's a taper to it. And you need dent balls that are going to be large enough to go in there. One set of dent balls you could be getting that would be graduated in sizes would be a magnetic dent repair system. With the magnetic dent repair system, you have a rather large, heavy magnet that you would hold on to. The dent ball would go in, and then using the magnet, you could run the dent ball along the dent here until it comes up. The downside to that is that while it's wonderful, it's made basically for larger instruments and larger diameter bores, like the tuba, the sousaphone, some parts of the baritone. It is fairly pricey, and if you're only doing a tuba every now and then, if it's not something that you do on a regular basis, like you have a shop that brings in lots of different instruments and lots of tubas, it may not be worth that kind of investment for doing one tuba. There is, however, an alternative. You can make wooden dent balls. So I'm going to start with 2-inch balls, like this. They have to be hardwood, because softwoods like fir, pine, spruce, nice woods, but because they're soft, they won't resist the brass as well, and they'll tend to compress, and they won't quite do the job as well. So you want a hardwood ball. I got a bag of 20 of these things on Amazon for probably about $25. With those 2-inch balls, we're going to carve them down into the sizes that we need. In this case, we measured the depth of the dent here, and it turns out that in order to begin to take this out, I need a dent ball that's at least 1.5 inches in diameter. And I already made one of those, and I've run it through. I'm going to be making dent balls, increasing in size by 1/16 of an inch. And I need to make one for a 3/4 inch dent ball. The thing we want to do is take our ball, and if you will look very carefully, you can just see right about here, right above my finger, a little dimple where the center of the ball is. And there is a corresponding little dimple on the other side. That will help you align up your ball and do your measurement. I need 1 3/4 inches. So I'm going to take my caliper again, and I'm just going to roll this thing out to 1 3/4 inches. There we go, 1 3/4 inches. And I'll go ahead and tighten that down to hold it in place. Now, I'm going to set it on the dent ball. I'm going to find that center again. There's the center. And I can just set it here just like this. And you can kind of eyeball that as to where that is. That will have the ball centered very nicely. Once I've got it centered and ready to go, then I'll just go ahead and mark it. So now we have a mark. The next step I'm going to do is I'll take a compass, and we have pointy needle here on one end, and we have the pencil on the other end. And we'll put the needle, put the pointy end right on the center of that dent ball. Push it down a little bit so it'll stay. And we need to line that pencil up. And turning the wheel on the top, we can line that pencil up right with that mark. Maybe just a touch bit more. There we go. Now, we'll just go ahead and rotate around the ball like this. We'll rotate all the way around, and we'll draw a line right there. Now we'll do the same thing on the other side. Just find the center. Push it in just a little bit so it'll stay put. And we've got exactly the same, we haven't changed the measurement here, so we didn't even need to mark this thing. We'll just bring this on around, just like that. Okay. Now, our dent ball is marked on both sides, okay, here and here. What we want to do is we want to remove the material right here in between the two lines so that we get a flat surface going around. That'll be our 3/4. In order to remove the material, we're going to use what's called a 4-in-hand wood rasp. There are two sides to this. One side is flat, and one side of the flat side has got very heavy teeth, and then fine teeth for later on. And the other side's got a slight curve to it, and again, heavy teeth, fine teeth. We're going to use the flat side. And in order to start this, what we really want to do is we're just going to start by filing down, straight down until we've got it nice and flat here. When you're doing this, by the way, I like to have a can of some sort, just a coffee can. And I'll put that between my knees and hold on to it. That'll catch some of the sawdust. And as you can see, maybe not, I've got quite a bit of sawdust from the other ones that I've already done. This doesn't take as long as you might think, but it does take a couple of minutes. We're going to take this down. We've started to flatten it out. We're going to take it down until we're just at the lines, not quite to the lines. We want to get it as close. We want to get it fairly close, and then we'll use the other side, the fine teeth, to finish it off and for fine filing. But right now, we just need to remove the material. Right after I was out of high school, I used to teach a wood carving class for the 4-H club. Okay, that gives us a start. All right, now we're going to start to work our way around the ball, and we needed to start here because that gives us this little edge right here that will help us round this thing around, and it'll make it go a little bit quicker. So we're going to start here, and what I'm doing is, as I do this, I run around that edge, okay, using a rounding motion. And that will begin to take it down a lot better. Now, I'm not going to do this whole thing. This one here, this is my 5/8. This one, I basically finished, all right, all the way around, okay. What I'll do next is there's going to be just a little bit of the line showing, and using the fine file, I'll go ahead and fine file this thing to get it exactly where I want it all the way around. When I'm done, this will measure 1 5/8 of an inch as an outside diameter. The final step to making these things is to drill a hole in it. I'm using a 5/32 hole, and I drilled the hole dead center. Now there's a reason for that. I think I have an example. Yes, I do. You want the hole so that you can run a baling wire. Now, whether it be a wooden dent ball or a steel dent ball like this also has a hole in it. This is that barrel shape, okay? Dent balls can get stuck when you put them in. And you can run a piece of baling wire. You'll notice I made a little loop on the top here and then bent it over, and that acts as a stop. I've got one on the other end as well. The baling wire will allow you to do a couple of things. One, when you're putting a dent ball in and you've got quite a ways to go, you can guide it in so that it goes exactly where you want to. Without that baling wire to guide it in, what will happen, particularly with the barrel-shaped dent balls, is that as they go down, they can turn. And instead of coming in to the tube thusly, they might turn and wind up coming in sideways. That can do a lot of damage to the tube. And you might not see it if it goes in far enough to where you can't see the thing because it's inside the bow. You wouldn't know that until you start to whack at it, and then it would damage it. So that wire, that baling wire going through, will help keep this nice and straight as it goes in. The other reason for having it in there is that dent balls can get stuck, and they don't always come out easily, and that baling wire will help you to retrieve the dent ball from wherever you're working. So that's the deal. And you can save a lot of money by making dent balls like this, for your larger dent balls like this. And they work just as well as the steel. So get yourself a bag of 2-inch hardwood dent balls and enjoy carving.